When Jeff Bezos left New York City in 1994 to go west, young man, he hadn't decided if he would settle in Seattle or Portland. Along the way, he wrote the business plan for Amazon.com, and the rest is as much internet history as it is Seattle's latest global success story. Now Bezos seeks to inspire the next generation of visionaries here at the Museum of History and Industry, MOHI. It's an ideal location. Right here on Lake Union, Bill Boeing pioneered commercial aircraft at the turn of the 20th century. Bill Gates launched a software empire less than 20 miles away. And a few hundred yards from here, where I stand, Bezos continues to grow Amazon, even as he invests in space travel, journalism, and social technologies. Which is why we kick off our special series of The Innovators with an exclusive interview with a man who lives by the motto, step by step ferociously, Jeff Bezos. I'm Hanson Hossein. Welcome to Four Peaks. Jeff Bezos, welcome.
Thank you.
You are a man who embodies innovation. So what place does innovation actually have in a museum that wants to archive it? I mean, how do you inspire the kind of innovation you'd like to see in the world?
Well, I think one of the things that you want is for kids, when they come to a museum like this, to be inspired by what's come before and to see what's possible and to see how individuals and companies invent pieces of the future and what that really means for our lives. And in Seattle, this is such a hotbed of innovation. It's really kind of remarkable, on a per capita basis. I don't know of any place that has spawned more invention, more companies that really have, made a dent in the world.
Yeah, I mean, and that geographic location right here in Seattle, right South Lake Union, close to Amazon. Why was it so important for you to actually put this monument to innovation or this inspiration to innovation right here?
Well, the MOHI had already selected this location. They were moving for other reasons, but I just think MOHI is the perfect environment for a center for innovation. That's kind of what they've been focused on from their founding.
And when you think about our location where Bill Boeing actually launched his first plane, and we're 20 miles away from Bill Gates and now Jeff Bezos, this is probably, it feels like the right place. Like Seattle does have this incredible story around innovation.
Yeah, there's something in the water here.
As he left New York, it was a toss-up between the Rose City and the Emerald City. Find out why Jeff Bezos chose Seattle to start Amazon.com when Four Peaks returns. I love that legend. I don't know if it's legend or not, but you were in the car with your wife driving across the United States, and you were doing the business plan as you were going there. Could you almost feel the pull of go west, young man?
Absolutely. In fact, I had not made the final decision. By the time the movers came and collected our stuff to take it from New York City to Seattle, I was still deciding between Seattle and Portland. Oh. And so I just told them, well, just get started heading west. And I'll let you know in a few days whether you should go to Seattle or Portland.
So what was the deciding factor?
Well, the deciding factor was that Seattle is a little bit bigger. And so I looked at the number of flights per week in the Seattle airport. And at that time, I think it was 3,000 flights a week coming out of Seattle and 1,000 flights a week coming out of Portland. And so there are just a lot of little things that in a bigger city are a tiny bit easier.
You mentioned that you wanted innovation to inspire this next generation. Why is it important to you? Why is it so important to you personally to make that happen?
Well, I think, I was a very lucky kid. I was inspired by invention and self-reliance from a number of different people and from, even watching the Apollo program as a little boy. And I think when little kids get inspired, you never know what might happen. It's a big deal, and everything about our society gets better over time. I really do believe that. I'm an optimist. The myth of the good old days is usually just that, a myth. We have better medicine than we've ever had before. Everything, all of that is invention. It's people figuring out antibiotics. It's people figuring out new kinds of biomedicines, biotechnology. It's things that have been figured out with the kind of communication that we have, the freedom of speech we have now with the internet. There's so many things that are getting better, and a lot of that is powered by invention.
Is there a particular methodology to that? Because I think that's really important, especially for young people, to actually do that self-assessment and find that passion. Do you have any advice?
I think that I think many kids and many grown-ups do figure out over time what their passions are. And sometimes we let I don't think it's that hard. I think what happens though sometimes is that we let our intellectual selves overrule those passions. And so that's what needs to be guarded against. Kids are very good about knowing what their passions are.
I love that, because I think I've seen you describe this way, that you've always maintained that sense of wonder. I think that's what kids have, but we lose it somehow along the way.
Yes, everybody, it's a gift if you can keep your childlike sense of wonder. And it helps with creativity, it helps to have fun. You laugh more and play more if you keep that childlike sense of wonder.
So Bill Boeing, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, if you looked at what you've brought and the legacy of innovation, how would you describe that?
Well, I think what I would hope Amazon's legacy would be is Earth's most customer-centric company. What we have always wanted to do is raise the standard for what it means to be customer-centric to such a degree that other organizations, whether they be other companies or whether they be hospitals or government agencies, whatever the organization is, they should look at Amazon as a role model and say, how can we be as customer-centric as Amazon?
Even competitors, I imagine, right?
Hopefully competitors as well. But if we could make, if that could be our legacy, that we kind of raise the general idea of what it means to be customer-centric, that would be a huge accomplishment. It would be accomplishing a mission that's much bigger than ourselves.
Harvard Business Review called you recently the most successful living CEO. Steve Jobs obviously was listed as well. What does that mean to you as you consider your own leadership style?
Well, I think if you look at the big ideas at Amazon, what we're really focused on is thinking long-term, putting the customer at the center of our universe, and inventing. Those are the three big ideas, and they work well together. I don't think that you can invent on behalf of customers unless you're willing to think long-term, because a lot of invention doesn't work. If you're going to invent, it means you're going to experiment, and if you're going to experiment, it means you're going to fail, and if you're going to fail, you have to think long-term. So these three ideas, customer centricity, long-term thinking, and a passion for invention, those go together. That's kind of the Amazon cocktail. That's how we do it, and by the way, we have a lot of fun doing it that way.
That long-term thinking especially is what I find so powerful, because you have been known to be somebody who is going to plant seeds and just wait. How do you deal with the pressure of, say, Wall Street, or you have a dot-com crash? I've never seen you panic. You stay the course and you sort of stick to your script. How do you do that, and how do you advise us to sort of internalize that as well as a strategy?
Well, I think that if you're straightforward and clear about the way that you're going to operate, then you can operate in whatever way you choose. And we don't even take a position on whether our way is the right way. We just claim it's our way. But Warren Buffett has a great saying along these lines. He says, you can hold a ballet, and that can be successful. And you can hold a rock concert, and that can be successful. Just don't hold a ballet and advertise it as a rock concert. And so you need to be clear with all of your stakeholders with, are you holding a ballet or are you holding a rock concert? And then people get to self-select in. We hire people who are really motivated by building new customer experiences. They like to pioneer. They like the rate of change. They wake up in the shower motivated by thinking about customers. And occasionally somebody joins Amazon who their primary motivation comes from thinking about competition or competitors. And those people can find Amazon a little dull. Again, it's not about right or wrong. It's just that different people are motivated by different things. And what happens with corporate cultures is that over time, people collect themselves in a way where they like that culture, and then it becomes self-sustaining. And so we really have a group, deep in our corporate DNA at this point, is people who like to pioneer, people who like to invent. We like going down blind alleys, wondering, or narrow alleys anyway, wondering whether they're going to be blind alleys or whether they're going to open up into broad avenues. And that's fun for us.
Well, that's really interesting because you're not guaranteeing success anytime you go down those alleys. You don't know whether they're going to be blind. So when you look at success and when you look at failure, how does it feel like when you're in the groove, when you actually know you're on the path to success?
Oh, it feels great. I mean, you know, you have to be in the mindset that you can accept blind alleys. But I'll tell you, the broad avenues are way more fun.
Find out why creating a customer-centric culture is one of the keys to Amazon's success. We'll be back with Jeff Bezos and 4 Ps. We're back at the Museum of History and Industry, home to the new Bezos Center for Innovation. Let's return to my conversation with Jeff Bezos.
Is there a particular recipe that you have in terms of how you actually innovate in that collaborative culture?
I think I don't think there's a particular recipe, but there are elements of what we do that I think help. So one of them is that inside our culture, we understand that even though we have some big businesses, new businesses start out small. And so, you know, it would be very easy for, say, the person who runs our U.S. books category to say, why are we doing these experiments with things? I mean, you know, that generated, you know, a tiny bit of revenue last year. Why don't we instead focus those resources and that, you know, all that brain power on the books category, which is a big business for us. And instead, that would be a natural thing to have happen. But instead, inside Amazon, you know, when a new business, you know, reaches some small milestone of sales, email messages go around and everybody's, you know, giving virtual high fives for reaching that milestone. And I think it's because we know from our past experiences that big things start small. You know, the biggest oak starts from an acorn, and you've got to recognize, if you want to do anything new, you've got to be willing to let that acorn grow into a little sapling and then finally into a small tree, and maybe one day it'll be a big business on its own.
And in fact, that's one of the mottos for one of your initiatives, and forgive my pronunciation of the Latin, but gradatim ferociter. What does that mean to you?
Well, it means step by step ferociously, and it's the motto for Blue Origin. Basically, you can't skip steps. You have to put one foot in front of the other. Things take time. There are no shortcuts, and but you want to do those steps with, you know, passion and ferocity.
Amazing about your success is that your timing was good too. How does an innovator actually identify that historical momentum, that Kitty Hawk moment? You recognize what was happening with the internet, and you said, you know what, there's actually a room for me to start with books and then move on. How do you do that? How do you find the time and the momentum, the zeitgeist?
Well, I think to some degree, you follow your passions, and then wait. You know, you have to hope the wave catches you. I was always interested in computers. I was always interested in software. I was always a big reader. And so it wasn't, you know, which made me alert to things like the internet and the possibility that you could build a bookstore online that would have universal selection. And that was really the founding idea of Amazon. And so I think everybody has their own passion, their own thing that they're interested in, and then you're very alert to the things that are in the sphere of influence of that passion.
So your passion has led you to change the world, frankly, with Amazon. But yet you've got Blue Origin, you've got Bezos Explorations. Why can't somebody like you just rest on your laurels? Go play golf.
Well, I love what I do. I also have 4 kids. I have a wife that I love. I have a lot of passions and interests, but one of them is, you know, at Amazon, the rate of change is so high, and I love that. I love the pace of change. I love the fact that I get to work with these big smart teams. The people I work with are so smart, and they're self-selected for loving to invent on behalf of customers. And so, it's not, do I love every moment of every day? No, that's why they call it work. There are things that I don't enjoy, but if I'm really objective about it and I look at it, I'm so lucky to be working alongside all these passionate people, and I love it. Why would I go sit on a beach?
I think that's important, that authenticity and that passion for anybody who's looking to innovate. The technology, the rate of change, I saw Vinton Cerf recently, he's considered to be one of the fathers of the internet, say that we are now in this era of permissionless innovation, meaning that we don't necessarily need to wait for permission from an institution like a government or a corporation to just do something. What does that mean to you in your position?
Well, I think that's largely correct. I mean, in fact, some of the things that Amazon has, so the tools that we provide are designed to make it easy for people to do what Vince is calling permissionless invention. Things like Amazon Web Services, so that you don't have to build your own data center. You really can be a college student in a dorm room and you have access to unlimited compute facilities through Amazon Web Services. Same thing with Kindle Direct Publishing and a platform for publishers. There are no gatekeepers. It's self-service. If you've gotten 37 rejection letters, try it yourself.
That's what I did. Thanks to you.
And then there are other things where I think the scale is such that you do need, big capital. I mentioned earlier, but you're not going to, build a brand new carbon fiber plane like the 787 without the resources of a Boeing. So that you're not going to do in your dorm room. You're not going to invent Kindle in your dorm room either. To build a consumer electronics device like Kindle and to pull all the books together for it and so on, that's a big team effort. Many hundreds of people, working over a number of years. So some things are still, require big teams, lots of resources, many years to pull together, and those are very important innovations too. But he's right that we're on a trend line where every passing year, more powerful things can be done by small teams.
And that's interesting because scale and size matter. You mentioned the two pizza meetings, but the danger is if somebody as successful as you, Amazon being successful, you have potentially a lumbering giant. How do you remain nimble? Because there is somebody in their dorm room who could eat you up for lunch the next day.
My belief on this is, first of all, that's completely correct, and you can never assure anybody that can't happen. But I think if you have a customer-centric culture, that cures a lot of ills, because we wake up, let's say you're the leader in a particular arena, if you're competitor focused and you're already the leader, then where does your energy come from? Whereas if you're customer focused and you're already the leader, customers are never satisfied. So if you're customer focused, you're always waking up wondering, how can we make that customer say wow? How can we, our energy, our passion, we want to impress our customers. We want them to say, wow.
And that accountability really matters to you as well. You're
Absolutely.
very accountable to your customers.
We love it. It's that kind of divine discontent comes from observing customers and noticing that, things can always be better.
When you look at education, I mean, Amazon has this incredible technology. Is there ways to sort of turn Amazon's technology towards helping sort of the educational challenges that we face in this country right now?
Yeah, I think there are. And in fact, we're doing some things with Kindle now. We have something called Whispercast, which lets schools manage fleets of Kindles. But I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. I think that we are, if you look at things like the Khan Academy and some of the other things out there on the horizon, I think there is a real chance that technology may ultimately fulfill its promise of helping with education. I think people have hoped for that for a long time, and it hasn't really ever come to fruition, not in a big way. But I'm still very optimistic that that may happen. And in fact, maybe some of the kids who visit Mohi will be the ones who will really figure it out.
Where in Seattle does Jeff Bezos go to clear his head? And what's his favorite snack? We'll be right back.
Four Peaks is made possible by generous support from the Museum of History and Industry and from Weber Shandwick.
I have a few rapid fire questions for you that we're asking of all of our innovators being featured at the exhibit, so you can answer in one word or whatever. Your favorite Seattle hangout to get a clear head?
My favorite Seattle hangout to get a clear head, my shower.
Excellent. Why are showers so prone to innovation? I get my best ideas.
Relaxing. You're alone.
You have one of those rainforest shower heads?
It's a very good place to do your best deep thinking.
All right. Favorite music to listen to while working, if you are listening to music?
I don't control the music in my house anymore. My daughter does that.
Oh, Justin
She
Bieber?
gets to decide.
You're not getting Justin Bieber?
No, I think right now it's a lot of Taylor Swift.
Okay. Best midnight snack while you're brainstorming?
I'm asleep at midnight.
That's important, isn't it? That's really good. A guy like you actually gets to sleep. That's good.
asleep.
And so how about best snack?
Best snack? Well, I think it would be a salty snack. I have a variety of food interests, but I'm going to go with, I don't know, pop chips.
Good one. You and Ashton Kutcher. Okay. And last one, and yes or no, coffee?
Are you kidding? You haven't had enough coffee until you can thread a moving sewing machine.
Wow. You can do that? No. Well, Jeff Bezos, thank you very much for your
My
time.
pleasure.
It was a real pleasure. Thank you very much.
Production of Four Peaks would not be possible without the generous support of our sponsors.